a stupid bitch.
Well, hey, it worked that time, and I'm really glad it did, because it caught right when you said stupid batch.
I'm glad we caught it right at the penultimate moment of me calling OBS a stupid batch.
Listen,
what the fuck?
Stupid batch.
You stupid bitch. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Why don't you let me record my podcast?
This fucking let me record my shit, bruh.
Let me record my goddamn. You stupid batch. All right, well, there's the
fucking batch.
There's the show open.
I came here to listen to a show about a turnip man that steals things from the IRS, and I call it a stupid batch.
Your Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club.
I'm Spencer.
And I'm Mark, that spells Spark.
Your spark of inspiration to explore Game Pass.
Charging sequence at 30%, 50%, Chief, 70%, 90%.
This is Spark Pass.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Spark Pass, your Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club. My name is Mark, and if I were an anti-capitalist vegetable, I guess I would be a potato. I'm joined, as always, by Spencer. Spencer, what anti-capitalist vegetable would you be?
Probably a carrot.
I can totally see a carrot. I'm picking up what you're putting down. We hate the government, and we have good eyesight.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I say as I'm wearing glasses.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, because we stare at too many screens. If you haven't guessed by my wacky ass intro, we're talking about Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion today, but we're also talking about another game, Amnesia the Bunker, because this is our I Pick, You Pick Indie Week. Once a year on the Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club, Spencer picks a game, I pick a game, and we both play both games, and we come ready and prepared to break down our thoughts on each other's pick, right? I think we both picked games that are very apropos of us. Mm-hmm. I picked a Zelda-like, and Spencer picked a horror game. Everything makes sense. There is beauty and majesty in the world. So Spencer, no more preamble. I hate preambles now. I stuck with it for more than one episode, goddammit. Let's get into it. We are talking about two games. I wanted to start with, you cool start with Amnesia?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Let's start with Amnesia. The first game that we played for your Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club. Actually, you know what? Real quick. Ooh. One quick preamble. Okay. Are you watching this on YouTube? Subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
If you could.
It'd be real nice.
It'd be real nice if you could do that. Leave a like. Comment on the video. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. You're an adult. Make your own choices. If you don't want to do that, follow us on social media. At SparkPass on Threads, TikTok, and Instagram. Those are the ones. All the other ones are dead to me. Those are the three. That's what we're doing. So, do that. Anyway, now then, for your Xbox Game Pass Game of the Month Club, we played not one but two games. And the first one we played is Amnesia the Bunker, a survival horror game developed and published by Frictional Games, and that made its way to Xbox Game Pass. Day and date, June 6th, 2023. So, Spencer, this was your pick for the I Pick, You Pick Indie show. Give me a real quick breakdown on your history with the Amnesia series and why you decided to pick it for the show.
Yeah, so I first was introduced to Amnesia when The Dark Descent came out, right? Mm-hmm. I was in, I think it was the summer between, like, high school and college for me. And I basically, spent every day that we weren't working at a friend's house, and there were, 3 or 4 of us basically just, around laptops playing various video games all summer. And being like, dude, if you check this game out, you got to play this game. And that was kind of our pastime, right? And Amnesia was terrifying. And it was that game of who can play the longest without getting too scared to walk away from the screen, right? And that was kind of where I first got introduced to the series. And then I was pretty removed for a while. The second game came out, and I just didn't really have that much time or interest in playing it. and just didn't really worry about it until a few years ago. Whenever I got more into streaming and stuff like that, I decided to play through all of them up to Rebirth coming out, which was the previous game before the Bunker, as kind of like a lead up and a marathon up to that game coming out. And I guess the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're here today with you, making me play this scary game that I didn't want to play. In the meantime, when I hear Amnesia, I think, no, fuck that. No, absolutely not. Like, I think the first game came out in, I want to say it was 2010.
I think that's right.
That sounds about right. It's 2010 or 2011. I remember one of my favorite streamers, Day9, playing it when it came out, and him being absolutely terrified. And he's like a full, like, he's stone face on a lot of games, right? Like, he's very analytical and like thinking through, and he's like scared to death of this thing. And I remember a lot of streamers and YouTubers of the era being like scared to death of Amnesia the Dark Descent. So I'm immediately, I don't do great with horror, y'all. Like, I can watch it, and if I come at it from like a very analytical perspective, I tend to really enjoy it. Like I remember taking a whole class on horror film in college, and like getting to that really analytical point where, like, if I can view it from that viewpoint, I'm solid. If I view it as a human being, I'm a little baby pants scared man.
Little baby boy, yeah.
I'm a little baby boy. So, I had to come at this game with an open mind. I will say that. If you didn't know, Amnesia the Bunker is the 4th game in the series, I believe. It's 4th or 5th.
Yeah, it should be the 4th one.
4th one. Because it's Dark Descent, Rebirth is the 3rd one, Bunker's the 4th one, and there's a squishy one in the middle that I don't remember.
Yeah, the one in the middle is a Machine for Pigs.
That's the one.
But I think there's another one that we may have missed based on this. Oh, there was a game called Amnesia Justine. But it was a very, very small game. It was like an hour-long thing. Gotcha. I don't actually even think I've played, so.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so this is the 4th main game in the series.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've played any game in this franchise. So I came at this with no expectations, no knowledge of anything, and I had to come at it very open-minded. I will say, Spencer, I came away from this quite impressed.
Okay.
Like, I didn't expect to enjoy my time with Amnesia the Bunker. I really did. I really enjoyed my time with it. Most of my playthrough, in fact, all of my playthrough was done on our streams, which happen here on YouTube, youtube.com/sparkpass. Everything's on YouTube now.
That's going to take us a little while to get used to, isn't it?
We've been doing stuff on Twitch for like 7 years. Like, it's going to take us a little bit to get used to YouTube. But we did all of that on our YouTube streams, and I came away really impressed, mostly by and large, with the loop that this game presents and the puzzle. I was surprised at how puzzle based it was.
Oh yeah. Versus,
I feel like most horror games I play, I don't know, are like, they might have a very simple like get the key kind of thing. But most of the time it is presenting scary corridors that we are setting up scenarios in which to scare you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're very linearly like, okay, you have to go down this hallway, and down this hallway, I'm gonna get you, but only a little, because this is a jump scare moment, right? Like, most of the horror games I have played, historically, have always done stuff like that. I didn't get very scared playing Amnesia the Bunker. And I think the reason for that is because the whole time I felt like I was kind of in control of my own destiny. The gameplay loop is presented basically, as you could guess by the name, you're in a bunker. This is set in World War You're a French soldier who gets injured out in the field, takes a wicked shot to the head, and now you have amnesia. Whoa. Your friend, who seems weirdly unharmed, is the one who comes and saves you and brings you to this bunker, and eventually a monster is unleashed in this bunker, killing the rest of your friends, right? And you have to get the fuck out of this thing. The gameplay loop that's basically presented is you make it to the base of operations of this bunker, and there's a generator in the basement of that base of operations. The generator is run on fuel. You have to have fuel for the lights to be on. So basically, what you are doing throughout the whole game is balancing and managing how much fuel you're spending versus how much you need the lights on in a particular situation. And I think for me, I really enjoyed playing with this game because I could approach it from that analytical approach, and it's so open-ended that, like, you don't know. It's not like a traditional horror game where, like, you're walking down the corridor and it's like, okay, I know something's gonna fucking happen, you know? You never know exactly what's going to happen, and you're kind of in control of whether something may or may not happen to you because, quite frankly, you control the lights. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I feel like that allowed me to sort of, like, sink my teeth into it. I don't know how you felt about it, Spence, as a more experienced horror vet. Mm-hmm. But for me, you know, having that level of control, I think took a lot of the horror out of it for me, which for me wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying of, like, you control, like, where you're going, what you're doing. It's fairly open world, as far as it can be in a bunker, right? Like, it's not, you're stuck only going down this path, and we don't even, like, let you know the other ones exist until you accomplish whatever the goal is. I mean, there are definitely things where you run into it of, like, I need to do this before I can come here, but that's more solving that little bit of puzzle that's there, right? Of reading the notes that you find along the way to know where to go to find the tool that you need to open the door you need to go into, kind of things, which is a pretty normal experience in an Amnesia game. Most of them have been somewhat like that. The biggest difference is, as far as gameplay goes, I feel like remembering back to the other Amnesia games I've played, especially Rebirth a lot, it feels like you kind of get stuck in one area before you can move to the next area at all. Where this game, it just says, here's the map. You can go to generally every area. You just may not be able to accomplish your goal yet. Which does a lot of things. It makes it less likely to know where something scary might happen, because it feels less scripted for the most part as far as events go. There are definitely some points where I felt like this is a very scripted event, that he is the beast, as they call it, is here at this time, which makes sense, right? It can't all just be random. But it was a lot less, I need to solve the puzzle in this room to open the door to even go anywhere else, which kind of leans and gives to, you need to make sure you have enough fuel in your generator, because if you go spend 45 minutes in the wrong area, well, you wasted all your fuel, man. Good luck trying to see in the area you actually need to be in. So this was definitely a game where I was like, you need to kind of actually read all of these notes you're picking up along the way to see, like, they said they'll be, you know, in this area. If you don't go to that area, you're not finding the piece you need. And it's giving you that information. You just have to, you know, actually read the note instead of pick it up, put it down immediately.
I feel like most survival horror games, we use the term survival quite loosely. By survival, we mean there's not a ton of bullets. It is worth noting that this is the first Amnesia game where you have a gun. The gun is mostly used to solve puzzles. It can also be used as a deterrent to the monster. Like, I think we figured out if you shoot the monster twice, he'll fuck off for a little bit.
I did have a few times where I played after we did your first session playing on stream, where I went through and was finishing my own playthrough, where I shot him one time and he kind of like ran away. And then I had another time where I shot him 3 times and he still ran at me. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say maybe my aim just sucks, but no, if it sometimes it took 3, it's probably just a randomized number, right?
It could be that or like where you hit him. Like if you hit him in the body, it's less scary than if you shoot him directly in his face.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's be real. I am not the most prolific aimist to begin with, let alone when I'm scared.
And the aiming in this game is not forgiving at all.
No, it's very binary.
This does not hold your hand when it comes to aiming. We're both playing on Xbox, so maybe on mouse and keyboard, you know, you have that little bit more fine control with a mouse than you do a controller. Maybe it's a little easier, but I did not feel like the aiming in this game was forgiving at all, especially because there's no crosshairs or anything. You were just aiming with the gun.
Right. Yeah, that was really like the main complaint I had about the game all the way through. The game feels like it's designed to be played on mouse and keyboard.
A lot of the Amnesia games do. They're still using the exact same engine that they used from The Dark Descent, which was originally only on PC. So these are definitely feel PC first, console second.
Yeah, not necessarily bad, right? Like
Right.
if I were to start over again, I would just play this game on PC, right? But there is definitely some translation issues of like, especially like just like the doors, and moving objects around feels a little bit more cumbersome on a controller than it probably should.
This is the first one that I played on console, and I can 100% tell you it is significantly more cumbersome on a controller than it is on your mouse and keyboard. And like with your mouse and keyboard too, you can yank a door open if you need to. Where the controller, it's kind of like you pull the right stick back and you move a little faster, but it still doesn't like throw it open, right? It still kind of calmly opens the door.
Right, yeah, for sure. So if you are to play this and you have access to PC, I would definitely recommend playing it on your PC if you can.
Yeah.
It's perfectly playable on controller. Like, it's not like it's like unplayable sloppy garbage.
Oh,
right?
100%.
It's not that at all.
Yeah.
But if you have the choice, or I haven't talked about this in a long time. I don't know if it's supported in this game particularly. It's an indie game, so maybe not. But keyboard and mouse inputs are supported on some games on Xbox.
Yeah.
So might be something you want to look into for this one.
That's true.
I don't know that it does work for this one, but you know, give it a look.
Only one way to find out.
You do your research. The more you know. Reading Rainbow. Those aren't the same thing. The More You Know and Reading Rainbow were 2 very different projects. Anyway.
Both good, though.
I don't know, both good. I don't know why I conflated them. But yeah, no, like, I enjoyed my time with this, like, way more than I thought I would. Aside from the little bit of controller clunkiness aside, like, as I was sitting there putting together my notes, that was, like, the only thing. Which, like, that is easily solved by playing this game on mouse and keyboard, or just living with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and because, like we said, it's not unplayable by any means. It's more of just a...
No.
Oh, this could be better.
It could be better. The controller experience could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
That was really, like, my only complaint. I think they absolutely crushed the atmosphere in this game. Even though I didn't feel particularly scared at all times because I was sort of in control of, like, my fuel management and whatnot, which, like, I don't know, for me, the feeling of being scared is a feeling of losing control. And I felt very in control of most situations in this game. Not all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
But most situations I felt very in control of what I was doing. And I just really enjoyed that experience of like, okay, I know this is what I need to accomplish. This is how much fuel I have. And I can accomplish that task, and the atmosphere of the game is very, like, it feels like the walls are closing in when, like, you have a pocket watch that you can pull out, and you can see exactly how long you have, of like, all right, I've got 5 fucking minutes before this generator fuel runs out, and you can see the lights start to flicker. And when the lights are out in the bunker, it's rad, because there's like it's just like this like red floodlight essentially in a couple of locations, and the rest of the place is pitch fucking dark, and you can hear all these crazy noises, right? There's like rats chittering around, there's a man groaning and screaming. Occasionally you'll just get shelled by German artillery, because this is still a World War I bunker in an active war, right? Just the atmosphere of this game is incredible. They absolutely crushed the feeling of, like, it is World War I, you are stuck in a bunker with a monster, the monsters are outside as well as inside, you are fucked. Like, they nailed the feeling of that.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with that. I think that they did a pretty good job with the atmosphere. I think over time, for me, and this could be, just our different perspectives of how much horror I play versus how much horror you play. It was scary at first, which I think you had the same experience of, like, I watched you, like, play this on our stream, and kind of, like, watched you go from, like, really tensed up and, like, oh God, something's gonna happen, to, like, okay, we're good. We just have to pay attention to what we're doing, and, like, kind of, like, you kind of, like, settled into it, right?
Yeah.
At the very beginning, I had the same thing I do with every horror game of, all right, we're in the dark, this is creepy, I don't know what's gonna happen, I don't know how it's gonna happen, all right, I got those, I'm on the edge of my seat, right? And then on the first time I saw the beast thing, I was like, oh, he's not that scary other than he can kill me. Okay, I just need to run away. And I got away, and I was like, okay, well, we got that out of the way. He's not that bad. And then over time, the more I played, the less and less scared I got of the beast itself, and, like, being scared that it was going to pop out, because the more I played, the more you kind of figure out when it's going to pop out of somewhere, right?
Right.
So the beast comes from holes in the wall, and there's typically smoke or dust that comes out of them. The lights start to flicker faster. You start to hear him before he's there, where, especially with, like, the Dark Descent, that dude just came out of nowhere all the time.
Right.
And it was terrifying, so you never knew what would happen. And I went from being scared of the beast itself and it being scary, to the scariest part of this game being, I have just accomplished a lot of goals, and I have not saved. And I'm now terrified I'm going to lose all of my fucking progress if I make one noise wrong. Versus, like, the monster wasn't scary. The spending 35 minutes catching up to where I was scary. And that's a huge difference in contrast to the past games that would let you save, like quick save, or would auto save in some parts for you, and would have checkpoints. Where this game has 2 total save points. One of them is a room, and one of them is the farthest point from the room that you can be. Gotcha. Down in the like the tunnel area. And those are the only places you can save your progress. So there were multiple times where I was like, all right, I got the wrench. I got to go do this and open up this room and collect this thing and get back to the safe room. I would get halfway through that, and I would, like, have to use the gun to open a lock.
Right.
And then the beast would just be on the other side of the door because it's like, it heard the gunshot. And I was like, well, God damn it. There goes all the progress I just made, right? And, like, we kind of had that together during the end of your first session playing, trying to get that key to open the pillbox. And it was like, all right, we need to do this step, this step, this step, and get back. And how many times did we run face first into him and be like, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah, no, we had several instances of that, because, I mean, I feel like the pillbox area And like that whole zone is like one of the more like scripted areas because that's where his lair is.
Yeah,
right.
That's definitely the first like real scripted moment I felt is when we walked in his lair, and then he's just like outside of it. Right.
Right. Yeah, he's there, which like totally makes sense. I have no problem with that. But you do definitely there is this sense of like repetition of perfecting a run. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It almost feels like it's got almost like the same mentality as like almost like a roguelike. It's not quite the same because right, it's like this semi-open world thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you almost have this or maybe like a survival shooter like a Escape from Tarkov, something like that.
Yeah.
Where you have a task that you specifically need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And you know exactly what you need to do that thing once you try it once. Right? Like, I never felt like I got stuck on doing a thing like 3, 4, 5 times in a row. It was like, okay, the first time you do a thing, you figure out pretty quickly, like, okay, these are the things that I need to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I need to accomplish X, Y, Z, and then get the fuck out of there. Right? And there is definitely a lot of tension in that. I feel like, yeah, I think you're right. I think they shifted the tension point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas the previous Amnesia games are more linear, the tension is don't get spotted, don't get chased by the monster. I feel like the tension point of the game now is don't run out of resources before you accomplish your task, and if you do, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? They just shifted where that tension point is. Which I think, given that it's a semi-open, I wouldn't call it open world. It's definitely like an open environment kind of game.
Yeah, that's probably a better phrase for it.
Yeah, you're in one open area.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not fully like open world. It is a very in vogue term in our industry right now. I don't think that I would necessarily call it that.
It's a open building. It's an
Yes.
open concept.
Yeah, it's an open concept kind of thing. Sort of inspired, I would say, by like the immersive sim genre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at like Deathloop and Prey, I think is a perfect example of a game this game was probably inspired by.
Yeah.
Games along these lines that like let you solve things in multiple ways and things interact as they would in real life. Like if you have a key for a lock, you can unlock it with a key, or you can just shoot the fucking thing with a gun, right? Like, multiple avenues to solving puzzles, which I think this game does really well.
Yeah.
Of, like, there's a ton of different ways to do this thing, which I think is really impressive for a game that has been mostly linear throughout its entire life. They found a cool new way to present this horror concept. And they presented it in a different way than the franchise is used to, and as a result of that, they had to shift that tension point. And I think for me, it worked. I think for me, it works a lot better than most of the... Because I've played like a handful... I haven't played any of the old Amnesia games, but I've played games like it, right? Where it's like, it's linear, and there's a puzzle you have to solve, and then, oh, here comes the scary thing. Like, I've played Amnesia spawned a lot of knockoffs.
Yeah,
a lot of games.
Amnesia was like kind of the spawn to stuff like Outlast, right?
Yeah,
because it was also like, all right, we'll get super deep in horror game history, right? I feel like it was kind of the first survival horror game where like you couldn't fight. Right?
Yeah.
Like before this, we had Resident Evils and Silent Hill, which are fantastic games, but you typically had a way to fight back at least a little bit. Where Amnesia the Dark Descent, they were like, you get a lantern and legs to run. Good luck.
Yep.
And that definitely has become almost like the meta of horror games now. Which I'm not here to argue whether that's good or bad. But I can definitely see where you've played one, you've played a lot of them, right? And it's kind of like, who cares?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think it's interesting that this studio, that Frictional Games, has decided, oh, okay, we've been doing that for 10 years plus. We're going to be the ones to try to shift it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're going to try to, because a lot of people made a big deal about like, oh man, this is the first Amnesia game with a gun. I remember you saying that several times, like they made an Amnesia game with a gun. But that's not really the shift, right?
Yeah.
The shift is this sort of like open concept of like, you have everything you need to get the hell out of there. You just have to go find it.
Right.
Right. And that sort of open concept of like the open environment horror game, which again, I'm sure is not a new concept. I'm sure there are other games that have done it. This is the first game that I have played that has done precisely this thing.
Yeah.
So for me, as a first time experience and somebody who has experience in like games that involve a lot of exploration, you know, Zeldas, Metroidvanias, open world games, right? Like a bunch of games that involve that sort of like exploration concept of like everything's out there in the area that you're in. You just need to go find it. I found as an enjoyer of those genre of games, I enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoyed a horror take on this, right? It felt like a sort of a different flavor of survival horror that I like a hell of a lot more than what the average survival horror game is, which is like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, games that, like, quite frankly, I don't really enjoy all that much, because those games feel like, okay, the game's progress is sort of artificially gated by like, oh, you only have like 3 bullets and you have this man that's always going to be there because it's a scripted sequence that he's always there, and you're gonna fucking die immediately. You gotta figure out some way to like run away. Oh, it's scary. Like, it feels like artificially gated in by the game developers of like, this is the part that's scary, right? Whereas Amnesia the Bunker, it feels a lot more natural. Like, I felt a lot of tension in the end there, in that section that we were trying to go through to get through to the pillbox and get through to the priest's room.
Yeah.
To try to get the key for the pillbox. I felt a lot of very natural tension in that area because I didn't manage my fuel optimally. I didn't have fuel for that section.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that when I don't have fuel, the monster's a bit more enraged because the fucker hates the light, as it says very clearly on the generator. Like, that felt like a very natural tension point. Whereas, like, I feel like in survival horror games that I have played, like, very traditional style survival horror games, it feels very artificial. It feels very forced. Mm-hmm. And it feels very, like, punchy in your face, like, this is the scary part. I don't feel like, you know, great horror films don't do that. Like, easy, cheap summer slasher horror films do that. But, like, the good stuff, the actual good stuff, has that, like, slow, looming, creeping tension, and the poor decision that you made 2 hours ago now affects you right now.
Exactly.
And that was absolutely the feeling I felt in that pillbox section where it was like, well, fuck, if I was better at managing my fuel 45 minutes ago, this would be a hell of a lot easier, right?
Right.
Like, this is my hubris kicking in, right? Like, the failures of my actions in the past have led to this horrible moment in the present. And I feel like this game is conducive to creating scenarios like that. Yeah, I dug this. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting to go like, okay, spooky shitty horror game, I'm gonna get really scared on stream, Spencer's gonna laugh, that'll be fun, and then I'll never want to play it again. I want to finish it.
Yeah.
Like,
that was kind of like that's the feel that I got, honestly. Like, knowing past Amnesia games, I was like, this is just gonna be like a scare fest for Mark. Of like tension constantly, some jump scares here and there are gonna get him, and he's gonna solve some puzzles along the way. Where it definitely quickly became more of a, okay, well, we know this dude's here, right? We know what typically brings him out, which is a lot of sound. And you can absolutely just like stumble on him in an area by accident. And then you just kind of have to deal with that part, right? Mm-hmm. But there were very few jump scares in this game.
Yeah.
And I like that. Like, you know, you kind of said it, like, anyone can write and make a easy, cheap, cheesy jump scare fest of a movie, right? Or a game if you know how to make video games. Making video games is not easy.
Right.
Writing jump scares is not hard. And this is coming from someone who I like a lot of games that have jump scares, right? Like some of the games I love are the Supermassive games. They rely almost entirely on jump scares, and that's fine. That's what I'm expecting going into it, right?
Right.
But I'm also expecting to go into it and it be campy and it be that cheesy, like, summer blockbuster horror film. I'm not looking at it as the A24 indie, you know, meta horror movie that's going to come out and all the horror nerds are going to be like, this is amazing. And then all the like normal people watching and go, well, where was this? It's supposed to be scary within 2 seconds. That didn't happen. You know what I mean? I think back to like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the slow burn. Mm-hmm. It's such a slow burn for like the first hour, and then just bam, it punches you in the face, right? Or like The Babadook is a terrifying movie, and you'd never see the Babadook until the end, right? So being able to do that feels fresh and better than just, okay, well, here's the 15th horror game that came out that has a big jump scare moment that everybody posts on TikTok when they get scared of it on their stream, and then the rest of it is kind of okay, you know, and I appreciated that a lot. There was definitely points where I had a lot of frustration with this one, of just losing that progress and being like, well, God damn it, do I even care to go back for the hour that I just spent like sneaking around this guy because he popped out, and then I had to deal with these rats that were in the way and solve the puzzle of how to open a door to get the object I needed to do the puzzle. I was like, oh God, I need a break.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like that's not a bad part of the game. That's more of just a frustrating moment happens, and it's like, well, God, fuck. Okay, here we go again. So that's like my biggest complaint with the game is just how often I lost progress, and half the time it was my own fault. There were definitely times where I felt like, I don't know why he's there. Maybe he shouldn't be. Or like I would come from the complete other side of the map, work my way over to the other side, and I was like, he just knew I was going to be here. Okay. And I feel that the most at the very, very end of this game. I don't want to go into like too many spoilers because this is still pretty fresh. But the very last bit of the game is a very open section. And you have to solve a very, very simple puzzle. But the entire time the beast is hunting you down, and it's like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to get away from him? Like,
yeah,
this seems like it's kind of set up to be like an overly difficult area because they just weren't really sure what to do when you got through the door. And they were like, well, how do we close this out with one last like boss fight? But you're not really fighting the beast, you're trying to escape it, right? So that was not the best, in my opinion. The ending was a little lackluster. But yeah, dude, overall, this is a pretty good game. I do think that if you're an achievement hunter and you like only play games if you want to 1,000 them, this isn't a spoiler, but do not play this game for that purpose, because one of the achievements is beat the game faster than everyone at Frictional could beat it.
Holy shit.
When I looked it up, there was like, it was 100% speedrun breaking the game guides that people were giving. And one guy was like, I beat it in 38 minutes, didn't get the achievement. Beat it in 33, got the achievement. It's somewhere in that section. And there's another for like never save your game, and just like, they are definitely very, very hard achievements to get. So if you're someone who like cares about that, maybe this isn't for you. And I got a lot of them by accident.
Yeah. Speaking of achievements, real quick, I did look up because we had that one section on the stream with the German soldier. I was curious.
Oh yeah, in the prison.
In the prison.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I was very curious if you could save him, right? If you could make sure he stays alive, because like that section is very obviously set up to be like, you open all the doors, you close the main door, the beast comes and kills the German soldier, the beast fucks off, and then you go and get the key what was in the German soldier's room? It was
It's the bolt cutters.
The bolt cutters, that's right. It was very obviously set up to be that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I could tell exactly what that's supposed to be. I was curious if you could save him. You can do it, and there's an achievement for it.
Yep. I spent 2 tries trying to get that achievement and got killed both times, and I went, I don't care anymore. I just want to finish this game.
Right.
I was trying to move on with my life.
Totally. But there is an intricate set of maneuvers you can do, and if you're fast enough and skilled enough, you can save him, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that, like, the open environment, the sort of open area reimagining of Amnesia, those little kind of moments I feel like really stand out.
Yeah.
They've set up a ton of cool, just like, here's a little thing that you can solve this in like 8 different ways.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's not like this very linear, one puzzle, one solution, find the XYZ thing, like we did with Benedict Fox last month, right? Of like, those were very like, the finding the pieces was non-linear, but solving the puzzle itself was very just like, here's the piece, here's the piece, here's the piece, you know the whole thing, just do it.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Whereas this game is like, you are presented with, here's the place. Here's the area.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to accomplish. Use your wits and ingenuity, figure it out. Right? And there's like a pop-up at the very beginning of the game that says something to that effect. Right? That like, things can be solved in multiple ways. If you think you can do it, you can probably do it. That doesn't always ring true, but like, for the vast majority of the game, it rings true.
Yeah.
Of like, you can do whatever you want in this scenario to solve it, and you can solve it a little bit brute force. You can solve it in a really clever, overly complicated way, right? Like, there's different permutations of getting through the same thing, and they reward some of the most inventive stuff with achievements, which is great. I always love that. I'm not a huge achievement guy, but I like achievements that are hard. I actually, hearing you say that makes me like happier. Because I wish more games did achievements that were like, yeah, that was a true challenge. That was a true test.
Yeah.
Right? I actually like that a lot. I'm really glad they've made the changes to Amnesia that they made. Overall, like, I'm very hell yeah on this, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting either. Like, not even a little bit.
I was expecting to very much be like, oh, fuck this game, I'm never gonna play it again, thumbs down, move on, right?
Yeah.
But I want to keep playing it, I want to finish it at some point.
Yeah. I enjoy the game for what they've done and like changed. I wish it was scarier. Just because
I
like
get that.
It was definitely one of the horror games that was like, for a few minutes, you have those moments of, I have no idea what I'm getting into, and I know it's supposed to be scary. But then very quickly it becomes, okay, I just have to do all this stuff and kind of avoid this guy. And I'll be fine. And there's, you can make mistakes and he can catch you. You can just kind of stumble upon him. But even then, like, I stumbled upon him in a room when I opened the door, and he was just kind of sitting there like a dog almost. Like, he had his butt on the ground and like all 4 legs. He was just kind of chilling, and I was like, that's not that scary. And I don't know, maybe it's just I've played the other games and some of them were scarier in the past. Maybe it's just because there's so much other stuff going on during it that I'm not thinking about the scary part, right? I'm thinking about, okay, well, I got to worry about if the lights turn out. I got to worry about, I need to make sure I go back and save after I complete this, because if I don't, I'm going to fuck myself and lose hours of progress when I die. And like, even finding its like lair thing, which is like the real only spot in this game that like gives any Amnesia flashbacks of like gore and just shock value being in a room. I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of not good, instead of like, oh, what the fuck is this? You know?
Yeah, I will say I did have the like, and you know, we have it recorded on stream, so we have the visual evidence of I was very like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
What fucking happened here?
Yeah.
Whenever we went into that room. So like, I don't know if that's just like horror veteran curmudgeonliness. I don't know, lack of a better phrase. Like,
I mean, it
I don't
could
know
be,
if you've just seen some shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
I very much went into that room. It's like, what the fuck happened here? Jesus Christ!
There's like, I can definitely tell that big difference in our playthrough, like watching you play it and then me going back and like doing my own playthrough of it. I found so much stuff in that room where you were like, key, buy. One piece I need, see ya, nerds.
Right, exactly, yeah. And I would maybe go back to that place later, but like we were also approaching the end of our stream time.
Yeah.
So it's like I need to get this part solved because I know what I need to do, right?
Yeah.
So there's some amount of that, but also like I definitely did just want to grab the key and get the fuck out of there. That was my primary goal once I was there. That is totally true.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I'm glad that the whole game isn't just like constant gore everywhere, because that, you know, eventually it just becomes whatever, right? Like, you're kind of like, all right, well, this is the 50th exploded head I walked past today. Who cares?
Yeah,
there are a lot of games that overdo that.
Perfect example.
Looking at you,
on
Outlast.
Outlast. I was about to say The Evil Within.
I have not played those yet, actually, believe it or not. But from what I've seen, you're not wrong.
Yeah. That's a Game Pass game that I played for a Game Pass Quest at one point. I played like the first like 2 or 3 hours of it. And it is very much that. And like it, like as someone who is horror averse, it eventually becomes like, okay, dude. Like,
yeah, like you kind of just like get used to it and you're like, whatever, dude. Okay, cool. I get it. You're gross and creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. This game doesn't do a whole hell of a lot of that, and I think it makes those moments stand out a bit more, which, good.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like you're not walking past it constantly, so the few times you really deal with it, it's like, oh damn.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, like, there's kind of a part, just to get a little specific, that I was kind of let down by. And it's the Roman tunnels.
Yeah, that sound like I didn't get to explore that because I haven't finished the game yet.
Yeah.
But like they found these old Roman tunnels that perfectly go in between the French and German camps. That sounds rad. Like that sounds like it'll be a cool scenario.
I thought it would be terrifying. It was not.
Okay.
There, you kind of quickly learn what the threat is and get past it and go, all right, now the scariest part is I'm lost and I don't know how to get back the direction that I came from because it all looks the same and you get really turned around. But I was like, man, this could have been like the scary part of the game, right? Like you've spent some time getting there and you kind of got like you get the feel of it and you're feeling safe, and that could have been a point of like just pure terror, and then being like, okay, I'm out of there, I will never fucking go back there again. And it was like, oh, I dealt with the thing that was here, now there's nothing else here. Okay. Well,
yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, for sure.
But like overall, I enjoy this kind of change that they've made. I enjoy that the weapons aren't a crutch, but they're still useful, right? Like the whole gameplay doesn't focus on I have a full revolver and I can just blast this thing in the fucking face. It's, oh, well, I only have 2 bullets, and I have to use them for a variety of things. Is it worth it to shoot this guy?
Right.
Is it worth it to shoot this locker? Do I go the long way? Like, you have to kind of think about what you want to do with them. But the game's focus with the gun isn't to kill your enemies. It's to be like your safety net emergency switch of
Right.
this is my last chance to run away. And games where you still have to kill the enemy to move forward that give you next to no ammo aren't scary. They're just frustrating.
Right.
This is not going to be a popular opinion. But one game that does that made me really fucking mad was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I know it's not an Xbox game, but it's a video game that's very good. There's a lot of times where you have a dude who shoots 800 bullets at you and drops none. And you had 4. And it's like, I get it. Ammo is sparse. But why is it only sparse for me?
Right.
And
yep.
that was like my biggest frustration point with that game. Like, I understand a lot of it is based on stealth, and you can stealth your way through a lot of things. But there are firefights where you kind of have to kill these people. And you could probably stealth up to them and stab them if you're really, really good at that. But if you're not, it's like, well, great. I guess I'm just here for 5 hours while I try to figure it out. And I don't enjoy that type of limited ammo personally, right?
Yeah.
If I have to kill things to move on, you don't have to give me like 500 bullets, but like, enough to kill the thing would be good.
Sure.
Where this is like, if you fired your gun, you may have been too fucked to begin with.
Right.
Like, you might already be dead, and you were just trying to buy as much time as you could.
Yeah.
So
for
I
sure.
liked the way they included it. Because there was a point where I was a little worried of like, well, is the gun going to play too much of a role in this game? Like, is it going to become too combat focused and kind of lose that Amnesia charm of get away from things? Like, like we said, that has spawned such a meta in horror games. It's obviously loved and done well, can be amazing. So I'm really glad that wasn't the path that we ended up down of just becoming an action shooter horror game.
Right.
Nothing wrong with games like that, but I'm just glad that
Right.
that's not what this one became.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely feels like, and it would be weird to not have it, given that like you're in a World War I bunker. I think with the setting, they kind of had to do it, and I think they did a really nice job of like reckoning with what that means in this style of game, right? Like, I think sometimes you're right. Like, games like this could go, oh, well, this is a setting that like it doesn't make sense for you to not have a gun. And that warps the whole game. I don't feel like this warped the game experience, like, at all.
Yeah.
It felt like a tool in your toolbox and not, like, the solution, you know? And which I felt like was really nice. All right, Spence. Let's wind things down. Do you have anything else on Amnesia the Bunker before we give this thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
I really don't think so.
Right on. Cool. So let's give it a final grade. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. Spencer, where are you at on Amnesia the Bunker?
I would definitely give it a thumbs up. I think anyone who's a fan of Amnesia games should check it out if you somehow haven't. If you're a fan of horror, you should check it out. Or if you're like Mark, who doesn't usually like horror, but really likes exploring and really likes puzzles, this might be the one to kind of ease your way into the genre.
I completely agree. I am also big thumbs up on this game, which I was not expecting to be at all. I was expecting to be like, if you're a little baby man like me, thumbs down, don't do it. But I definitely felt like the horror in this game was manageable. If it was realistic and made sense and was in obvious points, and you felt more in control of it than I feel in a lot of other horror games. I was a huge fan of this game. I really liked the way they changed up the formula of the standard survival horror game of the 2010s to freshen up that concept into the 2020s. I feel like they did a really nice job with it. Would I play another one? I don't know. But for this one, to play it right now, really enjoyed. Some clunkiness with the controls aside, which again gets solved by playing it on the platform that they designed it for. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. which I'm very happy to have done like a nice little 360, or not a 360, a 180 on where I thought I was going to be. I came into this thinking, well, we're going to deal with this so I can talk about Turnip Boy. And I ended up really enjoying my time with it, which was a very nice turnaround from where I thought I was going to be. So yeah, big thumbs up from both of us on Amnesia the Bunker. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, I'm so glad that you enjoyed this game. Like, part of me is like, man, I really wish we would have had those like funny jump scare moments, you know, just because they're entertaining, right?
Sure.
Outside of that, in the like a bigger picture of things, I'm like, Mark's getting into a little bit of horror, I know you're not gonna become a horror like fanatic like I am, but I'm glad that you're able to enjoy something in that genre, and it's not all just, no, I don't like any of this. This is not fun for me, right?
The thing, right, is like, even if I think of like horror film, there are horror films that I enjoy, and the ones that I enjoy tend to be the ones you described earlier, the slow burn style, like build up, tension, then bam, all at once in the last 15 minutes, right? Like, those are the kind of horror films I enjoy. I enjoy the artsy nerd horror films rather than the like here's Jason, right? Like, those movies can be fun in their own way if you like turn your brain off, right? But the ones I tend to enjoy tend to be that slow burn tension, fuck!
Yeah. For sure.
And I feel like this game has some of that genetics in it, right? Rather than the like what you sort of see as like the Hollywood horror film, right? Of like, here's the jump scares, constant, like it's like this one is like fuck, like, to use a really weird musical example.
Yeah, no, it makes sense though. Like, it is exactly like that. Like, I feel like you kind of have like the big crash at the beginning of a crash cymbal getting your attention when you first deal with the beast. You're first in that like dark medical area and you're like, what the fuck, dude? This is horrifying. And then you're kind of like, oh, I know what to do now. I'm okay. I can manage this. I just have to be smart about it.
Right.
And then there's the brief moments of sudden panic to, oh, we're good again. It's okay. We're fine. We're going to make it through this together. And then you kind of get to a point of everything's terrible. We got to go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this game absolutely crushes that vibe. And like, if there were more horror games like this, rather than horror games whose definition of horror is here's 85 zombies and 2 bullets, have fun, I would probably play more horror games.
Yeah.
Like, just most of the games in the genre I just do not enjoy. I don't enjoy that style of gameplay. But like, if there were more games like this, I'd probably play more of them.
Okay,
so
I need the biggest favor I'll ever ask of the people who watch this show so far.
I was just about to say, down in the comments,
in an email, on social media, in Discord, whatever. Let us know, like, if there's horror games like this that you're aware of, that you think Mark would be into. Because I want to find more scary stuff for Mark to like that isn't the cheap jump scares, right? Like, I know when we played Man of Medan, you're like, I fucking hate this so much. Because 95% of the horror in that game is jump scares. And that's okay, right? Like, I'm not saying jump scares are wrong. But they do get boring. And eventually it's like, okay, well, clearly there's going to be a jump scare up here. Or like, this is the 18th one in the last 25 minutes. I'm not scared anymore. Like, it's the old tale of don't go in that room. He's in that room. And then the dipshit goes in that room and everybody thinks it's going to be scary. But really you're like, oh yeah, of course Michael Myers is behind the door. Obviously that's what's going to happen because I'm not dumb.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it does very much lose any fun very quickly. So yeah, if you guys know of like the slow burns, for sure, let us know.
Yeah, and if they're on Game Pass, even better. Maybe Spencer can talk me into more than one horror game a year.
We're playing Texas Chainsaw at some point, right? Because that's coming out. We have to.
Well, Spencer, I'll go ahead and let you know we're playing Texas Chainsaw next month. It comes out in August.
Yeah, you're goddamn
so-
right we are. I already preloaded that shit. That's the first game I've ever preloaded in my life.
It's funny you say that because like I preloaded Starfield this week, and it was like, oh, okay, we're preloading, and you're over here like Texas Chainsaw, baby, let's go.
Yo, I saw
This-
a tweet a few weeks ago from some like game news site, and it was like, you can only play 3 games out of this list. Which ones is it? And it's like Starfield, Texas Chainsaw, Spider-Man 2, and like all the big titles coming out. And I just responded, I said, I picked Texas Chainsaw 3 times. That is the most excited I am for a game in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to get to talk about it next month. But before we get there, Spencer, we got one more game to talk about today because it's a double feature. Just like old horror films back in the day, actually, it used to be you show the nice movie, then you show the horror movie, right? So we kind of
feel like it should be the other way around, right? I feel like they should have
no.
showed the scary movie, then the nice movie as your palate cleanser so you can go to sleep at night.
Well, I think the idea was you take the kids to the nice movie, the kids fall asleep, and you
then
watch the horror.
Or the kids leave, you take them home, and the adults that don't have kids get to stay, right?
Sure, yeah, I think that was the idea.
That makes
back in the
sense.
day.
That makes sense. I just
Yeah.
like the idea of like the palate cleanser of, wow, that was terrifying. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Let's watch a Disney movie to feel better.
Right, yeah. So you're very much the Oppenheimer then Barbie of
Yeah.
this scenario. Whereas I think I agree with that actually. You watch the sad movie or the scary movie and then you watch the like
Yeah, and then
I
you
can
feel
sleep.
good
Yeah.
to go to sleep at night, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I
We're
used
doing-
to do whenever I got into horror, just as like a funny
Yeah.
aside. Like when I was younger, in like middle school, like starting to like dip my toes in the horror water, I would watch like a slasher movie like Friday the 13th. And then I would have to watch like 4 episodes of Family Guy or like a
Right.
little like Disney movie or something to be like, okay, I can go to sleep at night now. And now I'm like, I just watched 1 million people get murdered. Guess I'm going to bed.
Yeah, for sure.
Watch
So
the Texas
we're-
Chainsaw Massacre? All right, let's take a nap.
Yep. So we're doing that approach for Spark Bass today because we've got not 1 but 2 games for you, and this one's definitely a lot more pleasant, a lot more vibrant, a lot more colorful. This was my pick for the I Pick You Pick Indie Show. We're next talking about Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, which is a 2021 action-adventure game developed by Snoozy Kazoo, which, just
What
as
a
an
cute
aside,
name.
what an adorable game studio name.
I love
Snoozy
that.
Kazoo.
Kazoo.
He's a little guy. This game initially came out in April 2021. It came out for various systems all throughout 2022. And whenever it came to Xbox, it came to Game Pass. So let's talk Turnip Boy. I think the thing that really hits you in the face at the very beginning of this game has a very silly sense of humor. It's very goofy initially. I think the goofiness sort of underlies some more serious themes that we get to later in the game. But man, does this game immediately hit you in the face with like, we're a goofy indie Zelda game, right? Like, I've played a million games like this. I'm a huge classic Zelda fan, right? So like, I've played if you show me top-down viewpoint with a cute little character, a little guy, I'll probably try it, right? Like, I'm a huge Zelda guy. This is like one of the genres that I love, right? So choosing this style immediately was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm interested. I'll at least give this game a look. And man, like, I was surprised at how, like, obviously the goofiness, the sort of silliness is present up front through the whole thing. Like, man, this thing gives way to like an actual, like, they have something they want to say here.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, the government totally sucks, you motherfuckers, to quote Tenacious D. Like, they really, like, use this formula of the goofy indie Zelda game to, like, reel you into something real here. I don't even know where to even start. Like, other than, like, this game is silly, and then it fucking takes you places.
Yeah, and like I kind of like it too that even giving that serious message, it's like it's still doing it in like a goofy undertone, right? Like the way that it gives you that is like through moving and talking produce, and like all these silly things you have to do along the way to do what is like the ultimate end game. And it's like, it gives that deep, dark message without being deep and dark, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it like, instead of being like, fuck the government, it's like, fuck the government. You know what I mean? Like, that's the easiest way I can explain it.
Yeah,
it's
for
still
sure.
the same idea, just, a couple octaves higher.
It presents it in a very pleasant way.
Yeah.
So the base gameplay loop of this game, the base sort of premise, is Turnip Boy is a boy who's a turnip who owns a greenhouse. And the mayor shows up and says, you gotta pay taxes. And Turnip Boy don't like that. Turnip Boy, Turnip Boy sees the word taxes on a document, he will tear it up.
Yep.
That is him. That is what Turnip Boy does. He doesn't talk.
That is where Turnip Boy and I connect.
Turnip Boy doesn't talk. He doesn't say anything. He stares at you blankly with a wild-eyed stare, and if he sees the word taxes, he goes into a frenzy and tears up documents. That is Turnip Boy. That's the whole character. He doesn't evolve beyond that all that much. That is Turnip Boy. And basically, Mayor Onion shows up and says, hey, you gotta pay some taxes. Says, fuck that. And Mayor Onion sends you on a bundle of generic Zelda-style fetch quests to alleviate his tax burden, essentially. And as you go through that, Turnip Boy discovers the reason the world is like this. They actually have an in-meta universe explanation for how we ended up in a world of mutated anthropomorphic vegetables. And basically, long story short, it's like during the COVID pandemic, because they blatantly referenced the COVID pandemic because this game was developed in 2020. So like they blatantly reference that of like people going to a baseball game wearing masks, right?
Yeah. You even find like a mask in the game that says 6 feet away from me.
Right. Yeah. They're very deliberately reference that. Basically, a child dies, a scientist goes mad, the world goes to war, and there's a nuclear holocaust. You end up having to fight like a nuclear radiated human towards the end of the game, like, and then eventually Turnip Boy's father was a member of the mob, and that's how they came to own the greenhouse, and the government is the mob essentially. This game goes so many fucking places, Spencer.
It really does. Like, on the surface, you wouldn't think that it would, right?
Right.
On the surface, you would be like, oh, well, this is just going to be a silly little game. But then it's like, hey, shit's bad, man.
I feel like this is like, you can definitely tell the people that made this game are like our age, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's very much a like, this is like how millennials deal with the horrors of the world, right? Like, goofy, memey faces, collect silly hats. The world is in danger. You can do a little slashy slash. Like, that's the game, right? Like,
it really is.
Like, this game thematically and you may not vibe with this style of humor, right? Like, I will say that right off the jump. Like, if you do not vibe with this style of goofiness and silliness, this game probably will not work for you, right? I think you have to be in its mindset, in its vibe for this game to work.
Yeah.
But for me, this is right up my alley in terms of humor, and it totally worked, right? Like, using that setup of this very silly premise to knock you down with very serious shit. It's like, it's the same formula Bo Burnham uses, right? Like, it's that same style of comedy of like, set you up with a really silly joke, the world is dying, right? Like, that's the sense of humor of this game, right?
Yeah.
That's the sense of humor of this game in a nutshell. And if that doesn't work for you, this game probably won't work for you. But if it does, you'll get that plus a very competently made, I wouldn't say spectacular, but a competently made Zelda-like in the process.
Yeah, I kind of like, I was reminded of, which Zelda game is it? Link's Awakening with this game a lot. And Link's Awakening, I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, because I'm not, like, really into Zelda. I think that's my favorite Zelda game.
I think Link to the Past sort of, like, tends to overtake it, because Link to the Past is, like, just a more fully featured version of the same thing.
You see, I haven't played that, so that makes sense why I don't know.
Yeah, you should play Link to the Past. It's extremely good. It's one of the best video games ever made.
Where can I play that? What is that on?
Super Nintendo. You can play it on your Switch if you have Switch Online.
There we go. Okay. Easy. There you go. That's accessible. That's not a nightmare of accessibility at this point for me.
Yeah, Link to the Past is a very easy game to play. You should go play it at some point in your life. I recommend every human. If you're listening to this and you haven't played Link to the Past, what the fuck? Figure it out. Go play Link to the Past. Anyway.
But, I like it because it was, like, the cutesy art. And, like, the combat is very much just, like, make a slashy a couple times. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3. Versus, like, okay, I have to maximize and meta this and that and do all these things and grind out my levels. I mean, you get a shovel one time to upgrade, so that's kind of nice.
Right, yeah,
yeah. And I really like that of... It didn't, it doesn't get stuck in a spot that because you're not leveled high enough or like you don't have a strong enough sword or whatever. It's just like, yeah, just make sure you don't get hit and you hit it.
Right, pretty much, yeah. I wouldn't describe the gameplay of this game as like tremendously complex.
No, not at all.
There's some puzzles that you have to solve. The game does a take in the graveyard area, a take on the classic Lost Woods puzzle of like every Zelda game does, essentially. Yeah. Of like, you have 4 directions and you have to choose which one's right, and if it's wrong, you go back to the beginning, right? It does a take on that. It does, to me, I think the early Zelda games use combat as a puzzle, and I feel like Turnip Boy does that quite well. There are rooms, like, for example, when you go into the house that has the refrigerator, and that's where you find out, like, the boy died going to war or whatever, right? That house. One of the early rooms in that, once you figure out the house is haunted, there's sort of the early rooms that are like, oh, the house is haunted, spooky. You end up in this room where there's a grabby man. I think it's like it's some sort of vegetable or food product that's grabbing onto you. And there's a donut with sprinkles that it's shooting the sprinkles at you. If you get grabbed by the guy, it's very easy for the donut to shoot you.
Yeah.
But if you are able to avoid getting grabbed, you can very quickly deal with the donut and then deal with the grabby guy, right? Like,
right.
So in that way, in the early Zelda games where it's just like, here's a room with some guys, the guys become the puzzle, right? And you have to figure out how to like most efficiently deal with that room in order to move forward, right? I love shit like that. Like, that's just very clever enemy design and enemy placement that makes you feel intelligent for breaking down how exactly you deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But it's simple. Like, it's literally just, here's a guy, done, right? It's very simple to understand, very simple to comprehend, but you understand exactly what you need to accomplish once you do the room once, right? I love little stuff like that. They do stuff like that very well. There's nothing in this game gameplay wise that like is a revolution or a revelation. They're iterating on the themes of classic Zelda games. That's basically all they're doing here, right? Like gameplay wise, they're not doing anything that's like changing the world.
Yeah.
But they're taking these well-worn, well-trodden gameplay ideas and they're executing them well and putting a silly, sort of like fun anti-capitalist sentiment on top of it, right? And if that vibes for you, if that works for you, I think this game is super rad. Like, I had a blast running through. I very rarely full 1,000 games, Spencer. Like, I made a whole affair of me full 1,000ing Marvel's Avengers, which, by the way, Marvel's Avengers is leaving Game Pass this month, and I'm free. I'm finally free.
I'm more surprised that that game's still running than anything.
I mean, it won't be much longer. They're ending support for it. It's done.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, it's done. But yeah, that's why they're taking it off Game Pass. Is that's when I don't think the servers are fully shutting down, but they're ending active live support.
Yeah.
Anyway, that aside. Yeah, Turnip Boy just does a really nice job of iterating on themes that already exist and putting a new spin on them. Yeah, like I just really dug what they were doing here. I full 1000 this game because of what they were doing here. Like I really enjoyed, and it's a simple game to full 1000 too, because it takes about 3 hours.
Well, Mark, it kind of is a simple game to full 1000.
Yeah.
I had an experience that did not let me do that. I finished the game, got through everything but one achievement, which is after like credits roll into game stuff. There's kind of a bit you can do, and I lost all of my items, hats, and everything except for the hearts you collected along the way. And there was no fix for me. And this has apparently been a bug that people have had since like at least last year. When I looked it up, I found a True Achievements forum post about it. And there was someone as recent as June of this year, so last month, talking about having the same problem. Or I would have also full 1000 it, because this game was very fun.
Yeah. I set that up pretty deliberately because I was so disappointed to hear that, dude.
I was disappointed too. Like I took a break from it. I was like, okay, well, I finished the main stuff. This last achievement, the fight for it's a little hard. Like, it's not impossible. I was like right there. Yeah. Needed probably one more try and would have had it. And I was like, well, I should probably work on the bunker too. Like, I need to finish both of these games. So I took a break, went to play the bunker, played a few hours of it, stopped, had dinner, did a bunch of house stuff, and I was like, all right, I got an hour before I want to go to bed. Let's finish this game. Open it up, everything's gone. I was like, no.
Yeah, it has something to do with quick resume. I don't know exactly what the glitch is, but it has something to do with quick resume.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of what it seemed like. So if you're someone who wants to get all the achievements in this game, don't leave it in your quick resume, or you might run into the same problem I did. And I guess I was an unlucky person that my cloud sync became the bugged save file. So there was no way to get it back. And the options were replay the whole game or not do it. And I chose to not do it currently. Really which fair. I might go back and do, because there is like a god mode and like 3 times speed. And like maybe I can just like slam through it essentially and just do like the important stuff that you have to do to move on and try again. But as of now, I was like, nah.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. The last thing the game does present to you, that last area where you fight that last boss that you were talking about, it's basically like an endless mode.
Yeah.
It's a roguelite mode. As opposed to a roguelike mode. It's very roguelite of like, you'll get like one item every 3 rooms. The rooms are typically very simple to clear. I don't know that this is something that would have held me for like a long period of time, but I played this train area. I forget what it's called. It's like the Endless Waltz or some shit like that. It's something to that effect. Endless Waltz is a Gundam Wing show, so it's probably not called that. But anyway. But yeah, so they set up this sort of like endless sort of roguelike mode, and I don't know that it would have held me for more than like the hour or so that I played it. Like, this ain't Binding of Isaac. This isn't a game that you can sit and slam it down for like hundreds of hours, right? It's not diverse enough for that. But to add a little bit of longevity to like what is essentially an hour and a half to 2 hour long game, I thought was a nice touch. at least adding a little bit of replay value and giving you some bonus fights that you don't do in the base game, I thought was nice.
Yeah.
It's just an extra thing for you to do to check it off your list and get the full 1,000. Like I liked that part, but it wasn't like, oh man, the greatest roguelite that I've ever played in my entire life. That's sort of my overall sentiment on the game, is like, it doesn't do anything that's like, oh my god, this is the greatest version. It's not, I don't feel how I felt about Tunic, which is another Zelda-like.
Yeah.
Which, like, felt like it did things that were genuinely revolutionary for this genre, right? Turnip Boy does nothing revolutionary, but it presents it in a cool and fun frame in a nice way, and it does the tropes well, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind a game that does the tropes well. If you execute well on things that are well-known and well-trodden already, I'm good. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, like, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Not every game has to be the revolutionary, industry-changing shakeup, right? Like, just making the genre of game that's existed and doing it right and doing it well is more than enough.
Oh,
if I can still
completely
enjoy
agree.
it, I'm pretty happy with it, right?
Yeah, and I think we both found a lot of enjoyment out of this game. Like, it has been a while since we've had games that we've enjoyed, and some games that we haven't, that we've played on the show lately, that it'll be like, yeah, I like this, and we'll text back and forth, like, maybe a little bit. We were texting back and forth, like, the whole time through Turnip Boy.
Yeah.
Was, like, the immediate thing I noticed of, like, oh, wow, we're both really having fun with this, because we're, like, talking about it through the week. Right?
Yeah, like, we aren't just
Like,
talking about it on the show. It's like, I gotta get these thoughts out now because I'm having such a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, we're very obviously having a ton of fun with the game, right?
Right.
And for a short little 2-hour indie thing to, like, capture my imagination like that hasn't happened in a long while. It basically hasn't happened since Tunic, and it's doing it in, like, the opposite way Tunic did.
Yeah.
Of, like, Tunic is a revolution, this game is not. This game has revolutionary thoughts, for sure.
Yeah.
But not revolutionary gameplay concepts. It's playing the hits and playing them well. And I really appreciated the hell out of that. And I had a blast jamming through this thing. This was like a whole Saturday afternoon for me. Was like full 1,000ing Turnip Boy in one sitting. I demolished this game in one sitting and loved every second of it, dude.
I did it all in one sitting except for trying that last achievement, which was a mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's not a terribly long game. It's very straightforward with what you have to do. It pretty much every person that wants you to do something tells you, I need you to go to this person and do this, versus like being kind of vague about it and you have to figure it out type thing. It's just like all right, point A to point B, and along the way, if you want to do like a little bit of point C to D, there's some little side pieces you can do for other produce in the town and stuff.
Right.
Which is mostly cosmetic unlocks and if you're just trying to get the achievements, right?
Right, for sure.
But yeah, like, it's not a long game. It's very quick and easy to beat, for sure.
Yeah. It's not long, it's quick and easy to beat. It's fun through that whole ride. Like, we talk a lot about, like, finding palate cleansers between the big games of Game Pass. Perfect spot for this.
Yeah,
right?
It really is.
This is a perfect palate cleanser Game Pass game. Like, if you just got done with, I don't know, whatever the big release, like, you've been playing a lot of Exoprimal. Exoprimal's kind of the big release of this past month, right? You've been playing a ton of Exoprimal, grinding it out, getting through all the single player stuff, doing all the multiplayer shit. If you've done a ton of that, and you're just like, I need a break. I need something fun and digestible that I can get done with in a day and feel satisfied, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion is the perfect video game for you if you're in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all kind of waiting it out for the next big thing. Starfield coming out in a little over 2 months. If you're still waiting it out for the big thing and you need something small and digestible that you can do in between, Turnip Boy is perfect for that. It's funny that it's digestible because he's a vegetable.
Right?
I didn't put that together in my head once I said it out loud. Anyway.
Didn't even mean to make the pun, but nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. Great job, me. Yeah, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. I really don't feel like there's a whole hell of a lot else to say other than like it's a real fun Zelda-like game, and it's very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sums it up. It's cute. It's short, with a deep message behind the cuteness, and yeah, it's a good time. And you get to wear silly hats. That was a fun part of the game. I loved putting my little turnip in a silly little hat and going along my way.
It's a very underrated part of video games. I'm a huge proponent of fashion in video games.
Yeah.
And Turnip Boy lets you have some fashion too. My favorite one is the haircut where he's just bald. Like, that's my favorite one. But like, I just got a huge kick out of that. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. I am huge, big double thumbs up on this game. Like, I am like, go play it immediately because there's no reason not to. It's not time consuming. It's not like overly difficult. There's basically no barrier to entry on this game other than the humor might not land for you.
Yeah. And I mean, like, even then, you can still have fun without like getting into the deep story, right? Like, the gameplay is still fun. And it's fun enough for 2 hours to get in a fairly easy 1,000 achievements, or 1,000 achievement points, and have a good time doing it. Like, there wasn't a point of like I'm beating my head against the wall trying to do something. It was 99% of the stuff, if you just kind of pay a little bit of attention, just happens along the way.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, the game's great. So I'm big double thumbs up on it. I'm assuming you're thumbs up as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thumbs up. This game is very good. You should play it.
Sweet. Absolutely. 100%. I'm a big fan of Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. So, real quick, this year, there's going to be a sequel. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is coming out in 2023. It's apparently a different style of game. They're doing a twin stick shooter. Basically, he's the mafiosos that the pickle mafiosos that you break out at towards the end of the game. Apparently Turnip Boy joins up with them and they're gonna go rob a bank.
Okay.
So it's a twin stick shooter. They're doing a sequel this year. So
Interesting.
Something worth keeping an eye on. If you enjoyed this game, there's another one coming down the line.
Yeah.
So I was very pleased with Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, and the sequel is definitely on my radar.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised by this game. Games like this, there's like a 50-50 chance that I'm just gonna not vibe with it, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely did with this one. It's very good.
Yeah, 100% vibed. Huge fan of Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion here at Spark Path. Can't wait to see what Snoozy Kazoo does with the sequel. I'm very stoked about it. Spence, real quick, because we've been on the line for a good long while here. Real quick, did you play any other video games? Games we've been playing, real fast.
I played GTA Online and spent the entire evening making Barbie and Oppenheimer outfits and driving around Los Santos, being little hellions. And I finally, almost a year later, not a Game Pass game, but took a little bit of time to start The Devil in Me, which is the next game in the Dark Pictures Anthology Supermassive games.
We did an episode on Man of Medan a long time ago, so if you want our thoughts on that, go check that out in the archive.
It's been a while since we did that one, so check that out if you haven't. It's fine so far. I don't know if they were experimenting with things, if it's a next gen console thing. A lot of movement feels more clunky than before. But the run is a real run. You actually jog when you tell your character to run, and it feels weird.
Gotcha.
But I'm also in the grand scheme of gameplay things, less than an hour in, and half of that is cutscenes because it's a Dark Pictures game, right? These are more interactive movie than anything. But it feels fine. Not blowing me away yet, but maybe it will whenever I actually kind of get to the meat of the story,
Sure.
That's it, though. That's all I've played.
Cool. A couple really quick ones, and they're demos. And they're demos of games that are coming to Xbox.
Okay.
So, I got a couple real quick ones for you. Sea of Stars. I checked out the demo for this. This game is coming to Game Pass this coming month. So we're in August now. So yeah, it's coming out in August. If you are a fan of Chrono Trigger, if you like the 16-bit era Super Nintendo RPGs, JRPGs specifically, you have to go check this game out. Go check out the demo right goddamn now. It's going to be on Game Pass, and it's also going to be on the PS Plus subscription service. So it's going to be on both subscription services. Nice. So I don't care what system you're on. It's going to be out on everything. It's going to be out on a subscription service that you probably already pay for. Go check this game out when it comes out. I was blown away by this demo. Demo was so good. It has the prettiest pixel art I have seen probably since Owlboy, which Owlboy came out like probably about half a decade ago. The pixel art in this game is amazing. It is gorgeous, and it is very evocative of the old style of 16-bit RPGs. So if you love those games, and that's not a genre that I really love, but it is a genre that I have nostalgia for, weirdly, right? Like, the entire RPG genre has very much moved into either we're open world or we're action RPGs, right? Like, that little, that era of RPGs, of turn-based, pixel-based RPGs, has not wholly been abandoned, but it does definitely feel like it's been lost by the mainstream.
Yeah.
And seeing indie companies, especially one that does this pixel art this beautifully, pick that genre up, I'm super stoked for that game. I did not think I was going to be that interested in it. I checked it out just more so for a laugh, right? Like, it's a demo. It'll last an hour. I'll check it out. The art looks pretty. I was very impressed by it.
Nice.
So absolutely a game I'd recommend you go play. Another demo for another game that's coming to Xbox. I think it's coming everywhere else too. I don't think this is a Game Pass game, and that's a shame because I'm definitely going to have to buy it. WrestleQuest. It's another pixel-based RPG. This one is all pro wrestling themed. The premise of the game is essentially we're all toys in a toy world, essentially. And wrestling action figures are sort of like the kings of the castle. They're the top of the top, right?
Okay.
So it is very much like Mark's childhood, the game.
Yeah, I was to say that is 100% up your alley already.
Yeah. And it's a relatively simple RPG, but it actually has a ton of real life wrestlers in it.
Okay.
Like Jeff Jarrett's in it. Macho Man Randy Savage is in it. A bunch of older 80s era wrestlers.
Yeah, that makes sense because I feel like that was when wrestling action figures were peak, right?
Yes, for sure. That was definitely the peak of the craze.
Yeah.
Right? So it's sort of based on that premise, and you sort of take the role of a rookie wrestler who's trying to work his way up the ranks, who's very inspired by Macho Man Randy Savage and treats him as a deity, which is awesome.
Okay.
So that's another demo that you can go check. There was a ton of, after the ID at Xbox stream, there was a ton of demos for a ton of sweet indie games that you can go check out on Xbox right now. Just go to the demo section in the store. There's a ton of new demos that you can go check out. Some of those games are coming to Game Pass, some are not. You'll have to look it up individually as you go. But a ton of fun with a lot of those demos, but those are the two that really stood out to me.
Nice.
So if you're in an RPG mood, I also, continuing that RPG mood, started Pokemon Violet, which I'm kind of meh on.
I was so meh on it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I feel like I'm one of the few that was I just don't care about this.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I'm kind of meh on it. I don't think it's a terrible attempt to reimagine Pokemon as an open world RPG. I don't think it's terrible, but it might just be that I'm sick of open world games. I don't know.
I think they also just did a better job of it with Legends Arceus, personally.
Sure, I haven't played Legends Arceus, so if they did a better job with it, and then
I really enjoyed Legends Arceus, and then I played Scarlet and Violet, and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying this at all. And all of the things I enjoyed about open world Pokemon just isn't here as much. And it's not fun. I didn't like it.
My understanding is that they had 2 separate teams at Game Freak because those games came out like back to
They
back.
were like 6 months apart or something. Like it was
Yeah.
very soon.
My understanding is like that's a small studio and they had 2 separate teams that were like, hey, come up with the vision of open world Pokemon. And these were the 2 games that came out as a result.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're more on the Legends Arceus side of that particular debate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I started it. I'm kind of meh on it. I'll probably play it through because like it's Pokemon. It's not like it's hard. I can do it casually, just sort of slowly as I go. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of bleh on it. I was really impressed with both of those demos though, and there's a ton of great demos to check out right now. So we're in sort of the summer lull before all the big hitters come out. So
Right.
it's time for indie games. It's time for demos of stuff that's coming up. So that's mostly what I've been doing.
Makes sense.
All right, Spence. That's going to do it for Spark Pass. We've been on a long one. We were on a heater today. We had 2 games to talk about, so we had a lot to talk about. Before you go, comment down below. What did you think of Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion or Amnesia the Bunker? Let us know in the comments down below. Like the video if you could. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're listening on podcast feeds, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. We really do appreciate stuff like that. Apple Music, whatever you listen to, whatever service you listen to, wherever you get your podcast, however you pod, interact with us because it really does help the channel out, and we really do appreciate that. The next game that we're playing next month, Spencer, we alluded to it earlier, but I'm locking it in. We're confirming it. We played a demo of it a few months ago on the streams. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the game we're going to be playing for next month's edition of Spark Pass. Very much so deeply in your wheelhouse, but I feel like a diversion for us on Spark Pass. We haven't really delved into like, we've done some multiplayer games, but we haven't done a ton of multiplayer only games.
Yeah, we really haven't. Especially not for the show, right?
Yeah, I feel like multiplayer only games are a little bit challenging to talk about because we can spend a lot of time talking about plot, right? And multiplayer games don't really have that. But we're giving it a shot for this one because you're so goddamn excited about this game, and like I want to just revel in that enthusiasm with you.
I'm very excited. I'm so ready for this game. Yeah, dude. I feel like we're gonna have a really fun discussion about it, of horror, asymmetric games, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of that is very in my wheelhouse. So I think we'll have plenty to talk about still.
Yeah,
And the best thing is too, like we could spend some time playing the game for the show together, and that might be like the first time we've been able to really do that.
Yeah, like we've done we did a little bit of that. Like we do that with Halo.
Yeah, say we do it when we touch on Halo updates, but that's the main thing, right?
Yeah, we did it with Gears.
Gears.
Yeah, we did it with Gears. Yeah, but like we haven't done like a full on like total co-op thing other than the Gears trilogy episode.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to do for sure. I'm very much looking forward to that. So that's the game we're playing next month. So go play Texas Chainsaw when it comes out and give us your thoughts and get that shit loaded up because we're definitely going to have a lot to talk about on that one. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. We really appreciate your time, effort, energy, and attention. And we'll see you guys next month for a little bit of Chainsaw. And we're going to do... And it's not going to be in the background of the video like it was for that other video. It'll
God.
be like...
Oh,
it'll
God.
be like...
It'll be
it'll
the
be like-
video.
It'll be the video. It'll be the actual video game making the little chainsaw noises. So thank you guys so much for stopping in. We'll catch you next month. Peace and love. Y'all take care.